So Vivek Ramaswamy responded to my post and many people criticizing his ties with Soros, his shaming conservatives for not masking.
We're surging in the polls. The knives are coming out. The opposition research machines are churning. And you know what? That's a good thing, because I'm running to be your next president. I want to lead this country, and I better darn well be able to take some questions along the way. Stay skeptical. I would be too.
And although he sounds like Barack Obama, very sly and very smooth, his answers make absolutely no sense. They don't hold up to even the slightest bit of scrutiny. And if you watch this video and use basic common sense that God gave you, I think you'll come to the same conclusion. So here's why he was shaming conservatives in July 2020 to wear masks.
Next question I actually got last few days was about a statement that I had made about masks back in early 2020, in the early stages of the pandemic. And here, I'll admit it, my anti-government instincts got the better of me. Because I don't know if you all remember this, but back in March, April 2020, when I put that tweet out, which said that we should buy masks based on individual personal responsibility or whatever it was that I said, that was in response to the government, including Fauci and the head of the CDC, laughing at people for buying masks and telling people across this country that they shouldn't buy masks.
Vivek is a master manipulator, so he's acting like he just said it in April when he actually said it in July. And when he said it in July, Fauci had been pushing masks for 3 months. So this idea that his July 2020 shaming conservatives for not wearing masks and not wanting to wear masks tweet was somehow anti-government is super fake, because for 3 months, Fauci and the government was trying to get people to wear masks. So
I have inherently libertarian instincts. I'm skeptical of the government. I think the government mostly lies. And so when they were saying don't buy masks, I went the other way and said that, you know what, if the government's going to tell me not to protect myself, then maybe we should be protecting ourselves. Well, as the facts changed, so did my opinions on it.
So Vivek wants you to believe that he's so anti-government and he's so libertarian that he was pushing pro-masking rhetoric months after they were.
I have inherently libertarian instincts. I'm skeptical of the government. I think the government mostly lies. And so when they were saying don't buy masks, I went the other way.
And it's so obviously fake for these reasons. First of all, 3 months before Vivek was shaming conservatives for not wearing masks, Fauci was supporting masks. So the government narrative was to wear a mask at that time. He wasn't opposing the government at all. He was pushing exactly what they were pushing. And also, Vivek wants you to believe that he's so anti-government and he's so libertarian that he just does the opposite of what they do on masks. Yet when it comes to the vaccine, which obviously the government was pushing even harder than the masks, Vivek didn't have his anti-government libertarian thought process to him. In an op-ed in 2022, yes, that's 2022, in the Wall Street Journal, Vivek writes, the most important step in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic was the distribution of vaccines. He complimented the Biden administration. He tweeted that he thinks that every eligible person should get a vaccine. His story is not adding up. He's so anti-government and so libertarian that he's pro-mask because the government said the opposite and he just has to do the opposite of the government.
I have inherently libertarian instincts. I'm skeptical of the government. I think the government mostly lies. And so when they were saying don't buy masks, I went the other way.
Yet he toes the government line on the vaccine. Are people really this stupid to believe the new right-wing Barack Obama? Really? And for someone that just doesn't trust the government, his spin-off company Datavant was doing partnerships with the government. He's such a fake. And then he explains away his Soros connections.
The question we get is, what is my connection with George Soros? Answer, none. Zero. Indirect, direct, zero connection with George Soros. Why are people asking this question? It's because back in 2010, by the way, long before George Soros had completely fallen off the deep end and gone into these progressive causes, funding these disastrous, toxic prosecutors who are soft on crime, who I've also railed against.
If he truly believes that Soros just got really bad and radical over the last few years, then why in 2021, just 2 years ago, Vivek is tweeting out, well said George Soros, I consider Mr. Xi the most dangerous enemy of open societies in the world. Vivek wasn't providing pushback to George Soros. He was agreeing with him and parroting his rhetoric on open societies. Do you know any anti-government libertarian or conservative who would unironically share a George Soros op-ed and agree with him and say, well said, and then quote his open societies rhetoric without even a single ounce of pushback? This tweet has not been addressed by Vivek because it completely destroys the fake narrative that he's building.
By the way, long before George Soros had completely fallen off the deep end and gone into these progressive causes, funding these disastrous, toxic prosecutors who are soft on crime, who I've also railed against, long before then, in 2010, I won a scholarship when I was 24, 25 years old, headed to law school, that was partly funded by not George Soros, but Paul Soros, who's a relative, a brother of George Soros, who made his money independently, who, by the way, is now dead.
According to Reuters, later in life, Soros worked with younger brother George, investing in mining and industrial companies. So listen, if Vivek is a farmer bro, he's a farmer bro. If he's pro-vaccine and pro-government doing deals with the government, then that's just who he was for a while. I'm not mad at it. All I'm asking is tell the truth. You can't sit and say you were pro-mask and shaming conservatives for not wearing the mask because you're just so libertarian and so anti-government that your instincts kick in and you just do the opposite of what they do. But then you literally shill their exact narrative for years on the pharmacy product with zero scrutiny, intellectual curiosity, or even the slightest bit of libertarian or conservative Ron Paul, whatever he's pretending to be, to please you.
I have inherently libertarian instincts. I'm skeptical of the government. I think the government mostly lies. And so when they were saying don't buy masks, I went the other way and said that, you know what? If the government's going to tell me not to protect myself, then maybe we should be protecting ourselves.
And I respect him for at least answering the journalistic pushback, but let's get it straight.
We're surging in the polls. The knives are coming out. The opposition research machines are churning. And you know what? That's a good thing.
It's not the opposition churning. You're the opposition, okay? We're not the opposition. People that were against the lockdown, people that were calling out big pharma, people that weren't putting together COVID-19 databases, people that weren't calling it a liberal democracy, people that weren't shaming people for wearing masks. We're not the opposition. You're the opposition, okay? So don't try to twist it like you're this conservative hero that popped out of nowhere, and anybody doing basic journalism and that has an ounce of integrity that was actually there when the country needed it in 2020, 2021, and 2022, they're not the opposition coming to get you. These are patriots. These are actual conservatives and libertarians who are seeing through your right-wing Barack Obama shtick. I've invited Vivek to come on the show. I've heard that he's down. We'll see if he does. I have no problem asking him these questions because although it's nice that he answered, so many people are falling for this guy. How in the world can you believe that his true reasoning for pushing masks and shaming conservatives was because he's just so anti-government and libertarian?
I have inherently libertarian instincts. I'm skeptical of the government. I think the government mostly lies. And so when they were saying don't buy masks, I went the other way.
But only on that topic. On every other topic, he just mysteriously doesn't have that same anti-government rhetoric through the pandemic, just on that topic. But that's why he did it. You know, he's just so libertarian. I mean, how stupid is our party to buy this stuff? And after what happened in 2020 with trillions of dollars printed, Operation Warp Speed, extended lockdowns, bipartisan tyranny on every level, and then years of fallout from all of the problems that Democrats and Republicans caused, as a citizen journalist and analyst, there's a 0% chance I could just sit like everybody else and join a campaign and be a professional bootlicker when we just lived through that. Our party needs to be challenged. People that came out of nowhere from Big Pharma absolutely need to be challenged. And the father of the vaccine, who completely shamelessly still pushes the rhetoric he pushed before, and in some cases got worse, also needs to be journalistically challenged. But what people don't realize is so many quote unquote conservatives that you think are doing citizen journalism and they're doing patriotism, really what they're doing is politics. They've become a politician. And if I was whining and dining in Mar-a-Lago, do you think I could do real journalism? Or if I was whining and dining with DeSantis every day or RFK? Of course not. I like to hang out, but I wish more people were being citizen journalists instead of morphing into the new establishment, which is going to claim to be against the establishment. They realize that you want outsiders, so now insiders are pretending to be outsiders. And all I ask is everybody makes mistakes, everybody has a past. I'm not trying to hound people on personal stuff or dig super deep. All of this stuff is public info. And the story that Vivek is going with now just doesn't add up to who he was 6, 7 months ago. And every time he gives a reason, people go, oh, that makes sense. And I think that doesn't make sense at all. There's a 0% chance he's just too anti-government and libertarian to understand why conservatives don't want to wear masks, but not when it comes to vaccines or every other part of the narrative. God bless you guys. Hopefully you like this video. Have a beautiful day, and I'll be back with more soon.